little bit more in depth when we do our first check-in call. But I just want to
Mhm.
ask like a general question in terms of like appetite. Like, do you feel like your appetite's been pretty consistent? Do you feel like hungry, or like what's that kind of been like?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like I'm not as hungry as I was compared to the beginning of the program.
Okay,
I'm making sure I get a lot of the meat in there, um, a lot of the like calcium and protein rich uh, vegetables and fruits and things like that. Um, and by the end of the day, I don't really feel all that hungry. Like I'm not snacking as much as I used to, and
that's
uh,
good, dude.
not craving the junk food as much.
That's good, dude.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. Why do you think that is?
Hmm. I don't know. Maybe just I don't know. My body's just adapting, I guess, and craving more of the more of as we talked about like the whole food options and healthier options versus the sugary uh gross stuff like the with all the preservatives and stuff in it.
That's good, dude. Would you say now though, like you just said, you don't have the cravings as much? Would you say now it's easier than when we first started?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's easier to stay away from the the sweets and things like that than it was before.
Why do you think that is?
Um, hmm. Again, probably just my body adapting and enjoying the healthier foods more and not like and having my brain tell me like, oh, it's these foods are actually good and I don't have to um like there's not this weird like endorphins or something that I get after having sugary foods and things like that. It's more of a I think it's more of a mindset change really than anything.
That's awesome, dude. That's like my biggest thing is just like trying to teach you like, hey, it doesn't have to be difficult to get into shape, and it doesn't have to be this like boring, bland meal plan where we cut out all the foods we like. And I think oftentimes like people just get in these cycles where they're eating foods oftentimes that don't respond well with them, and then their body craves more and craves more and craves more, and it's hard to get out of the cycle. But once you
Yeah,
get out, it's like you just said, like you don't have cravings, dude. Like you're not really
yeah,
feeling like super hungry, and you're just like
mhm,
maintaining throughout the day and like and feeling good. No,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. That's my goal with like you is like just getting you to a point where like you can do these things intuitively, right? Like, and you
Mhm.
don't have to worry about tracking. Like, remember when we started and you were a little bit more meticulous with some of these things,
Yeah,
and you still are, of course. You're still like pretty spot on. Probably
yeah,
a lot better with probably less mental stress. But
yeah. It's less mental stress because I can I sometimes go a couple days without putting it in there, and then I'm like because I write everything down and keep notes pretty specific and everything. So it just I don't know like I get to the end of the week say, and then I'm like okay like time to just catch up a little bit, and it's just I don't know it's more mind over matter I guess.
definitely, definitely. I think what could be helpful for you would just be like the end of the evening time,
Mhm.
have some sort of like 5 minute routine where you
Yep.
like, and the reason I say this is not just to make sure we have the like it's mostly important because I want you to have the data at the end of the week, right? And I know that you're going back in a couple days after and putting in
Mhm.
at times, and that's okay once in a while, but really like
Yep.
having all the data is great because sometimes you
Yep.
miss things, but
Mhm.
also for the fact of it's going to be more of a positive feedback loop where at the end of the day, you go back and you're like, hey, you know, I just hit my protein target, right? Like I just hit
Mhm.
my calorie target, right? I just
Yep.
drank my gallon of water and like you just jot it down and it's gonna give you
Mhm.
that positive reinforcement. Like it's like you're finding fulfillment in the tasks themselves, and then as a byproduct, the results just come. Like you just
Yeah.
get the physique you're after, the energy you're after, because you're just doing the work, as opposed to being like, oh, I have to do these things. So I think
Yeah.
that could be helpful for you, like end of the daytime, or you could do it
Yeah.
next morning time to set
Mhm.
yourself up for success the next day. But I think it's
Yeah.
easier at the end of the day when you've done all the things and you're just
Okay.
reflecting. You're like, this is something I could do to like give me that. You go into sleep doing, or you go to bed after doing that, and you wake up the next
Mm,
morning, you're gonna feel like super wired and fired up and motivated to take more
okay.
action. And then it's almost like, how can I get better tomorrow? Like this is
Mm,
what I do with almost every goal I set for myself is in the
yeah.
evening time, like I either write down the things I've done, or I'll just like mentally take a few minutes to be like, huh, what did I do today that was like beneficial? And
Mm,
then you wake up the next day and you're like, you just like start to do, you'll notice that it's a lot easier to set higher goals. And then when you set the
mm,
higher goals, like we talked about in our last call, you're going to end up just getting way better results, because when you set the higher goals, your
yep.
expectations for what you need to do are so much greater. And then that leads
Mm,
to just that, additional work, and just your horizon, your mindset opening up. So dude, like I would
yeah.
just say doing that could be helpful for you. Um,
Mm,
like I already know that you've been consistent with the nutrition. So like
yep.
most importantly, for just the simple fact of like, looking back and then like setting the bar higher for yourself, I think that
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be
It's
beneficial.
certainly good for a nice little mindset shift to have that.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, hey, dude, that's all I kind of got for you for today. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to open it up for anything that might come up. If there's anything like top of mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have nothing for you today that's crazy pressing, but I'm sure stuff will come up like it always does after the fact.
For sure, yeah. I was talking about this with somebody earlier, and basically was saying how like when you have an answer to one problem, oftentimes
Mhm.
it brings up several other questions. And so
Yeah.
like people in the past, and sometimes to this day still, they'll ask me questions about like how many workouts should I do per week, or like how many exercise. And it's always just
Mhm.
this constant like never ending conversation where it's just question after question, because well, it depends on
Yeah.
the context. And it's kind of similar in this scenario, like um when you find more answers, you end up getting more problems to solve,
Mhm.
which is just like the game of life, I guess. But I think it's cool when you start to see that, like, hey, like you're solving a lot of problems, and you're getting the results you're after just by thinking about things differently, trying things, implementing them, and then following through, staying
Yeah.
consistent. So
Yeah.